Hello, welcome to Sex Talk with Natasha, week 2. We're so excited to be back. We got a lot of good feedback last week, and today's topic is going to be about the difference between what I call duty sex and gift sex. So we'll explain a little bit more about what I mean by those topics. We thought it would be a timely topic since it's the week before Christmas. And but anyway, before I get much more into that, I'd like to turn the time over to Ashley, and if you could give us just some information about the show. Although my Facebook Live is all of a sudden having a moment. So this is Natasha Alfred Parker, Sex Talk with Natasha. Hopefully we won't have any more technical difficulties and we'll get this going again. So, but let me turn over the time to Ashley so that she can give us some information about the show.
Welcome everybody. For those that have just joined us, this is Sex Talk with Natasha. Natasha is a certified sex therapist, and we're talking everything sex and how to have healthy sexual lives and how to be happy with it too. The way that this program works is we do live Q&As every week, and the first 15 or 20 minutes or so will be Natasha giving us some education on the topic. And again, today's topic is duty sex versus gifting sex, and Natasha will go into all of that with us. After that, our guest, who today is Rebecca, and we'll have her introduce herself in a little bit. She will come on and introduce herself. And at that point, we're going to go ahead and cut the feed on Facebook, and we're going to send everybody over to Patreon, patreon.com/sextalkwithnatasha, where you can subscribe for the rest of the Q&A. And from there, we'll have about 20 minutes with our guest. And then from there, we'll open up the last 20 minutes or so with the patrons who want to ask questions. And so remember to go ahead and go to patreon.com/sextalkwithnatasha. And just keep in mind one thing: with Patreon, you're getting a whole bunch of stuff. You're getting not only access to the live Q&As, you're also getting access to weekly blog posts that Natasha writes. You'll have homework assignments. We have online courses on there, which come out at least one a month. Our current series is How to Talk to Your Kids About Sex. It's a really, really good resource to have. There's a community on Patreon where you can talk with other members of the group, and then a variety of other resources that you will immediately have access to. And when we reach a certain subscriber amount, we're going to go ahead and do our own studio show. So subscribe for that, and we'll have a lot more professional quality-wise. We'll have some guests on, experts. Well, you know, whatever you want, we'll do it, right? This is for you guys. So the last thing we want to say is if you are interested in seeing Natasha professionally, you can visit her online practice, Symmetry Solutions, and you can see that at symmetrysols.com, or you can go ahead and call at 1-208-391-7804. Again, if you wanted to call them, it's 208-391-7804. So yeah, I'm going to send it back to Natasha. We'll go ahead and start with our education part of this.
All right. Thank you, Ashley. So welcome everybody to the show. We're excited to talk about this topic. It's the week before Christmas, and I oftentimes get a lot of couples or partnerships telling me that they have some type of negotiation between themselves that on a given birthday or a holiday or something along those lines, one of the partners is hoping for or expecting a gift in the sexuality department. So whether that's something they don't normally do, or something a little bit outside of their comfort levels, or things of that nature. And I want to talk about this because I think that it's important to understand the difference between doing something out of duty or responsibility, kind of heavy, not so sexy words, versus doing something out of pleasure or gift giving, which can be hopefully framed in a lot more fun perspective. And this has a lot of implications for the either playfulness or heaviness that's happening in the sexual lives of partners. So for some people, I see this going really well. They look forward to it. It's fun, it's playful, it's creative. They both kind of look forward to these, you know, maybe yearly or bi-yearly kind of like this doom, like I know that this day is coming, and I know my partner's expecting this particular thing, or I'm hoping to ask for this particular thing, but I don't think it's going to go well because it, you know, feels like my partner kind of avoids me on those days because of this thing that I want. So all of a sudden things are getting really awkward or tension filled, and kind of the opposite of what we want for things to be happening positively in the sexual realm in your relationship. So I'm going to try to break this down into a few points, and then we'll get to our guest. Usually the reason why there might be an opportunity for a partnership to have this idea of, ooh, would you give me something in the bedroom, is for two reasons. One is that there's a libido discrepancy. And this is a very common thing. I don't really know any partnership where the libido, the desire level for sexuality, the horniness, if you want to call it that each partner shows up to the table with is going to be exactly the same. Now you have some couples where maybe, you know, if you're looking at it only from a biological perspective, one partner might get the urge to be sexual 3 times a week. And the other partner might have the urge to be sexual 4 times a week. Well, the libido discrepancy then is fairly low. And in those couples, they don't necessarily struggle with libido, with that being such a big part of kind of the dissatisfaction in their relationship. But if you have a couple where, for example, one partner is maybe once a month, that's about how often my body gets, you know, the itch for sex. And you have another partner who's like more like twice a day, well, that's a huge libido discrepancy, right? And oftentimes what happens in these types of partnerships is that there's a lot of pain for both the lower libido partner and the higher libido partner. It's not really fun to be in either one of those shoes. And over my work over the years with many, many people in these positions, my empathy is huge for these positions. And what happens oftentimes is that we make a lot of meaning out of those things. So instead of just saying, well, the meaning is we just showed up to this relationship with different bodies, different hormones, different biology, whatever the things are that's going on that make us different in this department, we overstep that, and we usually go to really derogatory meanings. And they usually fall into the camp of either this is your fault or this is my fault. So either there's something wrong with you or there's something wrong with me. So, and what I mean by that is maybe you're too frigid, you're not adventuresome enough, you're, you know, there's something, you're sexually repressed. You know, these are the kinds of things that a high libido partner may throw at the low libido partner. The low libido partner may be like, well, you're hypersexual. That's all you care about. That's your life is out of balance. You're addicted, and all these types of things that the lower libido partner can blame, you know, can blame the other person on. Or we turn on ourselves. There's something wrong with me. Why aren't I more interested? Why am I so interested? Partner, I'm going to not be a sustainable partner for this person that I love. And so the anxiety, whether you're partner blaming or self-blaming, increases. And again, what you'll hear from me over and over again is that anxiety and sex are just like really not BFFs at all. Like they don't get along very well. So they kind of ruin things for you pretty quickly. So there's all these meaning ruts. The other reason why couples may be negotiating gifts is that there's an erotic taste discrepancy. So what I mean by that is that what turns you on doesn't necessarily turn me on. Or even more than that, what turns you on freaks the heck out of me out, you know? So I'm like a little scared about what's turning you on. Or it's a practice, you know, like maybe one person really enjoys giving oral sex or receiving oral sex, and the other person doesn't enjoy that as much. Differences in fantasies. There can be all kinds of ways that just our erotic templates don't always match up. So when you're in a monogamous relationship, which, you know, the majority, I think, of people in the United States still are in a monogamous relationship, and most marriages are contracted in monogamy. This can get really tricky, because if you're the only person I can be sexual with and have these experiences with, and I'm really excited to try these things out, or I find these things really pleasurable, or I want to do these things, but my partner doesn't share that interest or that frequency level, then you can see how people start feeling really stuck or trapped. And again, because of these meeting ruts, the conversations around this don't tend to go very well. And typically by the time people show up in my office, they've been struggling with these types of what I call patterns or dances with one another for 10 to 15 years, that they're really hurting. They're really struggling with understanding how to improve this aspect of their life, and again, some of the patterns that they've gotten into. So I want to offer just a few ideas about this. I believe that, in any relationship, you're going to have this tension between the me and the we. What do I like? What do I need? What do I want? What do I feel is satisfactory for me? And then there's also the needs of yours. What do you need? What do you want? What's going to make you happy? And then, and then that kind of boils into this we, like what's going to work for us. And for every couple, this is of course different. So while you're doing that dance of trying to negotiate where can I compromise in a way that is healthy for me, versus when I sell myself short. In other words, I'm in order to avoid conflict or to avoid a fight or to avoid this discomfort that the differences between us is bringing up, I'll just go ahead and do whatever it takes to make you happy. And this is kind of in a very simplistic way where duty sex comes in. And I see a lot of partners kind of giving in to sexual agreements or doing things that are sexual that are not necessarily feeling super authentic, and that are feeling actually almost kind of like, well, I'll just get this over with really quick. I'll just make them happy really quick and I'll get it over with. So kind of like gritting through a sexual experience, or being somewhat resentful even over time. Over time that just doesn't really bring a lot of pleasure, or you're not really looking forward to the next experience. And so this is where it's important to understand that your brain is kind of like your biggest sexual organ, right? We talked about the brain being your biggest sexual organ, because depending on how you're framing things and how you're thinking about things, the same behavior can have a lot of different contexts and a lot of different ways that either it's enhancing your sexuality and your partnership's sexuality, or it's actually detracting from your sexuality or your partnership's sexuality. So, so let me just kind of give an example of what I'm talking about. So if you have a lower libido partner and you have the higher libido partner who's saying, hey, I'd really like to have oral sex for Christmas. And if you could do that for me, that would be, really amazing. I'd really love that. And so then the lower libido partner feels this pressure, or feels like, well, if I don't say okay to that, then I'm going to disappoint my partner. So I better just say okay to that. And then maybe even the higher libido partner adds a little bit of a guilt trip, like, pretty please. And if you don't do this for me, I just don't know that I can have a really happy sex life if this one thing doesn't really ever happen for me. So you start getting into the principles of healthy sexuality. One of them being consent, and the second one being non-exploitative. So consent, you can say yes, but is your body saying yes, right? Is your vagina saying yes? Is your penis saying yes? Is your brain saying yes? Versus just the yes of I'd rather just avoid conflict with you. So that's an interesting thing to think about. And then, the word exploitative, it sounds kind of scary and mean and awful, but we kind of exploit each other all the time. And this is kind of where these guilt trips come in. Or if you're not willing to do this for me, then I'm not going to be willing to do this other thing for you. So we use our power differentials and the ways that we have power over one another in sometimes really unhealthy ways that again leads to resentment versus enhancing of the sexuality. So if you have a situation where that's happening and the lower libido partner just kind of gives in and grits through it, first of all, let's say it's a woman, for example, her vagina doesn't know that she's married to this man, doesn't know that she's trying to avoid conflict with this man, doesn't know that she loves this man. Her vagina just knows that she's not having a good time, right? And that this isn't fun, and that this is not something to look forward to again. And every time your body creates a memory that is negative in that way, it just becomes a little harder the next time for your vagina to be like, ooh, I'm excited to relax and lubricate and be all into this, right? You're going to have kind of an anxious response to initiation or things of that nature. So we want to avoid duty sex altogether. Now, let me give you an example of maybe a different type of scenario where you have the higher libido partner who says, hey, I know that I have this interest that is really not your cup of tea. And if you really hate it, and if you really don't like it, you know, there's tons of other things that we do that's fun. But if by any chance you'd be willing to engage in this with me, you know, once a year on my birthday, that would be like amazing. But again, no pressure. I don't want to, you know, freak you out about this. It's really okay if you say no to this. So that's the exploitative step. You know, it's not being exploitative at all. And then the lower libido partner, or the partner who doesn't share this erotic taste, says, you know, really it takes time to think and be mindful, and can be like, well, you know, that's a good point. Thank you for asking. Thank you for being honest with me about your interests, and for bringing this to me, and to trusting me with this information of what you'd like. And either let me think about it, or let's try it once and see how it goes. And maybe I'll make my decision after we've tried it a few times. And in the process of doing something that maybe doesn't come organically, naturally to a person, they're still enjoying pleasure. So that's the third principle I want to talk about, is pleasure. In other words, can a partner enjoy the pleasure that it brings the other partner, so that a partner could be embracing that person, maybe having a quickie, for example, and saying, you know, do your thing and use my body, and I love you, and it's so fun that you know, have this desire towards me. And even though maybe one of the partners isn't necessarily interested in orgasm or isn't erect, if you know, if it's a man who doesn't have an erection but is still with his partner who's, you know, rubbing off on him or having fun in that way, they can still engage and be exploring pleasure and enjoying touch and enjoying massage. And you know, that's more what I'm referring to when I talk about gift types of sexuality, where one partner is knowing that this isn't really necessarily for me to have an orgasm, or for me necessarily to have this organic desire, but I'm enjoying it regardless, and I'm enjoying the pleasure it brings my partner. And so we do this all the time in other areas of life. You know, we bring people flowers, we bring people candy, we do the dishes, we put the kids to bed, right? We look for ways to help our partner feel good about themselves, or have an easier day, or de-stress. You know, we do this in lots of other ways without feeling like we're selling ourselves short, or that we're building. Reciprocity is really important, because this can go the other way too. It's not just the high libido partner, or the one who has maybe more what would be considered fringy erotic taste. What about the vanilla partner? You know, what about the partner who's like, I would love, you know, on my birthday, I would love to be able to cuddle and have a massage and not once worry about whether or not it's going to turn sexual. You know, like, I just want to feel touch, and I want to feel closeness, and I want to feel our skin in proximity, maybe lie naked together, and know that there's not going to be an initiation for sex. Like, that would be amazing, right? So this can go both ways, and it can be really a fun way for couples to engage in all kinds of different fun scenarios. And but again, with that idea that we're consenting not only to our partner but to ourselves. We're not being exploitative. We're focusing on pleasure, and we're focusing on reciprocity. So those are the points I wanted to make. Am I at about 15 minutes, Ashley? Because again, I have no.
It was perfect.
Oh,
Perfect.
wow. All right.
I think you made it to about 16, actually. So well
Okay.
done. Well done.
All right. My internal clock is working. That's good.
No, it's funny because, and I don't think the viewers, maybe on Facebook, they can see Rebecca and I, but at various times, Natasha, you were saying things, and Rebecca and I are sitting there like, yes, yes, the same time. So
Well, good. So that's my little spiel. And then now we're going to turn it over really to kind of just a little mini session with Rebecca, because I'd love to hear her thoughts on this, how this applies to her life, and have her ask me questions. And this is where we're breaking off to Patreon only, correct?
Yes. And I'm going to, oh, here we go. Oh, sorry. I'm trying to unmute.
Okay.
You.
So you want to give your spiel and then I'll turn off Facebook Live?
Yeah. So Rebecca, why don't you just introduce yourself in like 2 sentences, and then I'll go ahead and remind people where to go.
Okay. All right. I'm Rebecca, and I'm excited to be here tonight. I'm in a monogamous relationship with my husband. We've been married almost 18 years. So this is an awesome topic.
So we got lots to talk about, 18 years worth of stuff. So join us, everybody. So why don't you guys head over to patreon.com/sextalkwithnatasha. Go ahead and subscribe, and we'll go ahead and finish over there. Remember, everything that you're getting isn't just access to this live Q&A. You're also getting the weekly blog post by Natasha, homework assignments, online courses. You'll be a part of the community. And the last thing I want to remind everybody is that if you do want to see Natasha professionally, please visit her online practice, Symmetry Solutions. That's at symmetrysols.com, or you can call them at 208-391-7804. So thanks, everybody, and we'll see you over there on Patreon.
All right. Thanks, Facebook people. We'll see you in a bit.